Sisters and brothers, this movement is so strong. The fight, this global fight is so strong. In the poorest of nations, children are standing up to the largest of corporations, laying down their bodies on the line. They do it not for themselves, they do it for the generations after them. The landless, the peasants, the farmers are rising up to take back their lands. The workers are shutting down the factories. The students are walking out of the schools and picketing. And in the countrysides, in the mountains, in the far-flung regions, the poorest of the poor are taking up armed struggle, armed revolution. ILBS supports all forms of resistance for self-determination. If we are to say that we are for to decolonize, if we would say that we are anti-imperialists, we must stand for all forms of struggle for national and social liberation. Do we stand with our sisters and brothers who are taking up arms to defend their lands, to defend their nation? Stop the U.S. war machine from Iran, Palestine to the Philippines! Stop the U.S. war machine from Iran, Palestine to the Philippines! International solidarity is our weapon against the enemy. Thank you.
Thank you, Berna, for that powerful address. Folks, next up to address us will be from the Democratic, from DSA, the political wing of DSA, the anti-war wing of DSA, Sapir. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sapir. I organize with the Democratic Socialists of America and also NIAC, the National Iranian American Council. I'm an Iranian immigrant. I came here 8 years ago. I love y'all. I love New York City. Thank you all for being here. Since its founding, the United States has been a force of militarism, colonialism, and intervention. The United States has always used war as a strategy for deflecting attention away from domestic issues, wreaking havoc on communities of color both here and abroad, also that a small number of people can make an ungodly amount of money. We must oppose all war. The recent military strikes by the United States were not an accident. They were not stupid. They were not a reckless act. They were a calculated measure designed to bring us, the United States and Iran, to the brink of war. A war with Iran is wrong because it is war. It is not wrong because of who the U.S. killed. It is not wrong because it is expensive or because Congress didn't get to vote or because Chuck Schumer was not briefed. American bombs and missiles are no less deadly just because the military got a permission slip from Congress before dropping them on the people. A person's right not to get murdered by the U.S. has nothing to do with whether Americans choose to see them as humans. Human rights are just that. They are not granted by anyone, and they do not have to be earned. Human rights are inalienable. When the U.S. goes to war, it sacrifices poor people from here to go massacre poor people of color on the other side of the world for the profit of the obscenely wealthy. And when poor people and communities of color in the U.S. ask for housing, healthcare, reparations, food, climate justice, they are always smugly asked, but how will you pay for that? But somehow, there is always more money for endless war. And when we make too many tanks and guns, the police get to use them to evict moms in Oakland and to terrorize protesters in Ferguson. Our police forces take advantage of the manufactured emergencies to surveil and persecute communities of color. We must divest our society from the war machine for the benefit of everyone. We must oppose all sanctions. Some people promote sanctions as a smart, peaceful alternative to war. But don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Sanctions are an act of war. Sanctions have been killing my people. We don't know how many. There is silence from the Iranian government in that regard. But we know millions of people are going through what no human being deserves to suffer. Every single Iranian here has a family member or a friend who has struggled to access medication, insulin, cancer treatment, food, things that every human being in the world should have access to. An entire generation will grow up in the shadow of sanctions, malnourished and underdeveloped. An entire generation will face a frightening and unstable future, all because the most important time in their lives for them to grow and develop and flourish, someone on the other side of the planet decided they were expendable. We must oppose all intervention. We must oppose all intervention. The United States has a long and bloody history of meddling in other countries. The time has come for the United States to take a step back, or 100. Even the most well-intentioned people in the United States do not know what is best for the Iranian people, and no one has asked for our opinion. The people of Iran are fighting for bread, work, and freedom. They are fighting for bread, work, and freedom. Non-kar azadi. Solidarity with the Iranian people means solidarity with the working class and the people around the world. And solidarity with the working class people around the world means Americans must leave other countries alone. Of course, non-intervention will not fix everything, but it will give the people of Iran the space to fix their country the way they see fit. The Iranian people revolted in 1905, 1911, bringing about the Iranian constitution and parliament. The Iranian people revolted in 1979 against an imperialist government installed through an American coup. The people of Iran have taken to the streets en masse over and over again to oppose repression in 2009, in 2017, and just a few months ago. I was on the streets of Tehran in 2009, and I know firsthand the people of Iran are more than capable of revolting against governments they do not want. People in power must stop forcing destructive neoliberal policies on other countries for the benefit other countries for the benefit of the 1%. We must stop pretending that the United States serves as a model for democracy around the world. We do not. When we all know the rich and powerful are running the show, we must divest from the war machine and reinvest in communities. Working people across the world all want the same thing. We all want food. We all want housing. We all want health care. We all want clean water to drink and healthy air to breathe. If our politicians don't give a shit about our kids in the Bronx with asthma, or kids in the Flint, Michigan, or Newark with poisoned drinking water, why should we believe them when they pretend to care about the well-being of Iranian people? The politicians who voted to fund the war machine have used their power to obstruct our movements for housing, healthcare, and climate justice. If we want to secure a safe and just future, we need to pressure those in power to fight our fights, or else we will fight those in power. We will vote them out and replace them with people that work for us and not in spite of us. And if our elected officials don't listen and treat us like they have been by giving us a pat on the head followed by no action, they can expect us to show up. They can expect us to show up everywhere they go. We will be at their offices, on their phone lines, in their inboxes, outside their homes, their restaurants, and we will be filling the streets. Oppose all war, oppose all sanctions, oppose all political intervention. Fight for housing, fight for food and healthcare and dignity, and fight for justice. Tax the rich. rich and feed the poor. Tax the rich and feed the poor.
Shout out to Sapir for giving us that talk. Comrade read it off his phone with passion and vigor. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! U.S. imperialism's got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! U.S. imperialism's got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! U.S. imperialism's got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! U.S. imperialism got to go! How we feeling? How we feeling? Y'all know y'all cold. Just cuddle up next to your comrade. You may not know him, but we standing for Iran today, so maybe just move in a little closer. It's fine. It's fine. So now we're going to have our comrades from Refuse Fascism speak. Can we get our comrades to come up to the mic? Oh, they ready. Give them a warm welcome.
What's up, New York City? How y'all doing? I know it's wet. This is very important that you're out here. We are refusefascism.org. This is the Out Now movement. Our slogan is, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. Donald Trump is an American fascist. This is a fascist regime. We stand here in solidarity with no attacks on Iran, because the attack on Iran and the assassination of Soleimani is just one of the horrendous crimes of this fascist regime. And this is part of a whole program. So while I agree with so much of what everyone is saying, I think the system is guilty. I think the whole system must go. Because the system is what gave rise to a fascist like Donald Trump. That is what gives that breath. So I think the whole thing must go. But refusefascism.org is comprised of people from all different perspectives and political persuasions, united around this is a threat to humanity, and we must do everything we can to drive it out. So we are watching around the world as people rise up in Chile, Egypt, South Korea, Hong Kong, Puerto Rico. All over, people are rising up against hated regimes and hated rulers to drive them out. And we must do no less here. And now I've heard other speakers say we need to be in the streets every day, and that is fucking right. We gotta be in these streets every day. And we gotta demand that they must go. Now, people from Refuse Fascism and the Rev Club have been down in D.C. during this entire trial. This is a momentous historical occasion in U.S. history, and we must pay attention to that. Because right now, a lot of the future is at stake, what happens down there. And the people in the streets can change the equation. It seems like it's all sewn up. They got this, it's over, the Republicans are going to move on, and nothing's going to happen. But that's where we come in. Because it really is the power of the masses of people in the streets demanding fair trial, witnesses, evidence, and the entire regime out now. If we do that, it changes the equation. Now the other side is getting organized. And we saw this down in Virginia on MLK Day, no less. 22,000 armed militia types, MAGA, armed to the teeth, down there saying, we will not comply. What does that mean? We will not comply. That means if Donald Trump is convicted and removed, they will not comply. If he loses the election, they will not comply. Well, while their side is getting organized, our side is sitting back and waiting for someone else to do it for them. We cannot sit back and wait for someone else to do this. It's on us. So we must wake everybody up. You guys are out here, and it's really important. But we got to wake up all those people sitting back waiting for someone else to handle it for us.
really fast. Hi. So just really quickly, I know everybody might be waiting around for either Bernie or Warren to win in November, and I apologize for cursing. We ain't got that motherfucking time. You understand me? We don't have that time. Right now, with this crucial point in history, we have a very small window to use the power of the people. Not just say it, but actually show it. Show up in the streets in D.C. Where's the media covering the protests or our contingents down there? Where are they? Are you seeing it? No, you're not, because they don't want you to see it. Because if you saw it, you'd be like, well, fuck, I want to go down there too. And you should. And if you're interested, look us up. Come talk to us at Refuse Fascism. We're organizing buses. We'll figure out a way for you to get there. And if you can, we're having a mass meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. At the Asian Americans Writers Workshop. Find us online, Refuse Fascism NYC page. Thank you.
No war on Iran in the streets until they're gone. No war on Iran in the streets until they're gone. No war on Iran in the streets until they're gone. Thank you.
You know, a few years ago, I became familiar with a phrase from a minister that lives in Baltimore, and he used to say, and I'm sure he still does, you know, we're all we've got, but we're all we need. Okay, so we're going to be our own media. We're going to spread our word ourselves, and we're going to fight this struggle because we're all we got, right? All right. So our next speaker to address us is going to be representing C, Solidarity with Iran. Please give a warm welcome to an Iranian speaker, Tara.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to be reading a statement on behalf of C, Solidarity Iran. Brothers and sisters, dear comrades, as citizens of the United States, your courageous protest today here in the streets of New York and tens of other cities has a clear message. The message is for the most arrogant ruling class in the history of humankind, and it is, do not carry your atrocities out in Iraq, Iran, or anywhere else. Your message is that they are not allowed to send your sons and daughters to the Middle East or Latin America to kill innocent people for the interests of the military-industrial complex and corporations, and in the name of democracy and human rights. Just a few days ago, Mr. Trump, in the capacity of President of the United States, ordered directly the murder of General Qasem Soleimani, the most popular hero of the resistance movement, and not only in Iran, but on the broader Western Asia. That was a clear act of state terrorism against international laws and which shall be condemned by freedom lovers throughout the world. The terrorist murderer Trump should not be allowed to get away with such crimes. We at the Solidarity Iran C campaign urge you to keep up with raising your voice against the United States aggression and build up the strongest mass movement to demand no sanctions and war threats on Iran and U.S. troops out of Iraq and the Middle East. Thank you, everybody.
It's cold. Okay. Thank you so much, comrade. Now, there's people who have been struggling longer than I've been alive. And they come out in all types of weather. And as I mentioned before, we have an international panelist. And just like how we had Civil perform earlier, we have the Raging Grannies. Where your grandmama at, right? About to get on this mic to do one song for us. Please welcome the Raging Grannies.
Raging Grannies are so honored to rage, to end the war in Iran, and to end the sanctions, and to bring the troops home all over the Middle East. Okay, ready? Wait, thank you.
I got videos like this. Thank you.
Why are we silent while so many die? Why are we silent while so many die? Why are we silent while so many die? No bombing, no droning, no more. No bombing, no droning, no more. When we bomb and drone, children die. Corporations make money, families cry. Homes are gone, the waters are dry. No bombing, no drowning, no more. No bombing, no bombing, no more.
Thank you, that's the Raging Grannies. So we have the elders here, and refreshingly, the anti-war movement is getting younger, y'all. Just a decade ago when we came out here in the streets, we didn't see a lot of people under 20 years old. Some under 30, but not this demographic that we're looking at today. So we welcome you because, you know, us old heads, we get the world and we borrow it from you, basically. And sometimes we fuck it up a little bit before we give it to you, right? So anyway, we have our next speaker is going to be representing Bayan. Earlier I made a mistake and I introduced the ILPS speaker as the Bayan speaker. That was my mistake. Now representing Bayan is Nina. Thank you.
U.S. imperialist, number one terrorist. U.S. imperialist, number one terrorist. Warm and militant greetings, New York. My name is Nina, and I am representing Bayan USA, an anti-imperialist alliance of Filipino organizations fighting for national liberation in the Philippines. And we are here in solidarity with the people of Iraq and Iran and in utmost condemnation of U.S. intervention in the West Asia, North Africa region. We Filipinos are out here to say no war on Iran, U.S. out of Iraq, U.S. out of the Philippines, and U.S. out of the Philippines, U.S. out of everywhere! When people hear about U.S. war abroad, we're often confronted with narratives of a new world war. We're often confronted with narratives of a few individuals making bad decisions. But the truth is, the U.S. has been at war. The U.S. has been at war for the majority of its existence. People have been dying both here in the U.S. and abroad. And the truth is, it is not about a few morally corrupt individuals, but this is an imperialist system designed to oppress the majority and benefit of the few. So we are here marching in sync with our siblings, a million Iraqis who took the streets of Baghdad yesterday to tell the U.S. to get out of their country. In the Philippines too, our people kicked out the U.S. bases in 1992. But the U.S. insisted on staying. The U.S. presence is still very much present in the Philippines through unequal military agreements. The U.S. funds, arms, and trains the armed forces of the Philippines, which has been found guilty of human rights violations time and time again. Just yesterday, another indigenous school was attacked by the military and its paramilitary forces. And do you know what? The U.S. spent 6 times more on military aid to the Philippines than healthcare here. 6 times more. Just to the Philippines alone. So where do the people factor in these power plays of imperialists and local reactionaries? Our lives are not collateral damage. Our lives are not political pawns. We are not secondary. all people of the global south must rise up, organize our communities here in the U.S. and back at home, and advance our national liberation movements. We must also build the anti-war movement here, support the folks here in the U.S., and we must definitely assert and defend our sovereignty, because we must see our struggle as one against U.S. imperialism. So everyone, please join me in a chant, a Tagalog chant. It means down with imperialism. When I say imperialismo, you say ibagsak. Imperialismo! Ibagsak! Imperialismo! Ibagsak! Imperialismo! Ibagsak! And now we're going to do the 3 basic problems of the Philippines, which we are fighting to bring down. And you can say the same thing, okay? Imperialismo! Ibagsak! Feudalismo! Ibagsak! Kapitalismo! Ibagsak! Duterte mismo! Ibagsak! Thank you.
In 2009, again, you may recall, there was an election for presidency where Ahmadinejad was declared the winner, but there was many disputes among the population who had participated in the vote. And again, they came to the streets, but not in a violent way. They came in, very famously, in silent protests. You had up to 1 million people in the streets of Tehran silently protesting and saying that, where is my vote? That became the Green Movement. That was, again, a very important era, because as of today, we still have the 2 men who ran against Ahmadinejad as candidates under house arrest, going into the 5th year of their completely extrajudicial, no justification, no charges. They've been under house arrest. And who are they? They are founding fathers of the revolution. Those 2 men are original revolutionaries who were part of the team that brought the Islamic Republic and solidified it in power throughout the 1980s and 1990s. This is just to show you the depth of fissures and conflict within the ruling class. And the reforms are definitely not dead. Every time Iranians have got to vote for a candidate who has earnestly promoted the reform discourse, they have supported him in large numbers. Young people, the real issue is the inability to fulfill their potential, professionally, artistically, culturally, on many fronts. And that is the frustration of the Iranian youth. And they hope the nuclear deal will open up a lot of doors in their isolation and give them the opportunity to fulfill that potential.